Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another edition of the SBK Betting Podcast. Tom Collins, Ross Millar beside me, and we are looking ahead to Ayr and the Scottish Grand National this weekend, a weekend where the jump racing is as good as the flat racing. We've got real crossover period now, so something to make TC and Ross smile. And Ross has given us a lot of thoughts and feedback after the Aintree festival that we had last week. So plenty to take from the Millers Movers content that's gone out. So make sure you have a watch of that, because I think there was plenty to take away from Aintree last week. And as we head into the Scottish Grand National meeting, there's probably quite a similar feel with Willie Mullins with a proper champion trainer raid and a champion trainer raid in this country. Yes, he has got 18 declared at Ayr for the Scottish Champion Hurdle weekend, but with the feature race being the Scottish National. So Willie Mullins currently heading the Trainers' Championship after that Grand National win with what I have in morning, £2,874,693 with just £19. With just 19 winners, he's at that mark. Dan Skelton is just under with £40,000, and then current trainer for Paul Nicholls another 75 grand or so behind him. So the question is really, and I'll come to Ross first, can Willie Mullins, with the team of 6, I think it is, in the Scottish National, headed by McDermott, do a back-to-back in a week national victory route, Ross?
I'm sure he can, but I think the fact that he's running 6 suggests that he doesn't believe he's got a standout candidate, perhaps. McDermott heads the market, be well named, wouldn't he, for a Scottish national winner? But I think you're slightly guessing if he's going to stay 4 miles. I mean, he was impressive over 3 miles last time and won easily and looked like he'd stay further. But on his previous 2 starts, he was running over 2 miles. So it's not like they've had him pegged as an out-and-out stayer. There's nothing in his pedigree that I could see that says this horse is going to drastically improve for 4 miles. So if you're backing him, I think you're slightly guessing, and you are going full in on your faith in Willie Mullins. And don't get me wrong, there are probably worse punting strategies than just following Willie Mullins. But he was short enough for me. A couple of other horses that I thought were interesting and certainly would have been on my radar for this earlier in the season. Jitmaker for the Snowdon team, but I thought he had a very hard race in the Kim Muir trying to chase the impressive winner. Bit the same with Wacker Clan, who finished 3rd. Stay Away Faye, I thought was a horse for this race at the start of the season, but he was disappointing last time. They did say he scoped dirty, but it's hardly an ideal prep. My Silver Lining's been a revelation, but you just think she's been busy. It's got to catch up with it at some point. Mr. Vanguard, I was really interested by it, and I jumped back and forth with him, and I can really see the appeal. He looks like an out-and-out stayer, and he'll like this softer ground you would perhaps normally get in a Scottish National. But he did put a massive hole in the second last at Exeter when he won impressively there, and I thought he was very well managed in a small field in the National Hunt Chase. I just wonder what he'd be like in a 26-runner handicap. So I came down on 2, and they are speculative. Normally I have a really nice idea about Scottish National, and I haven't this year, but the 2 I came down on Broken Halo. Now, he is very exposed, but I'm confident at the start of the season at Sandown that he would have finished in front of Beauport. He fell at the second last. Uncharacteristically this season, he's fallen twice, and he's jumped poorly a couple of times, but he's normally a very sound jumper. But he would have beaten Beauport, finished 2nd. He's now £3 better off with Beauport, who's since won at Utoxeter. He's jumped poorly in 2 military races, but was perhaps not helped by the rider. He won tidily last time, and although he's exposed, I think he's looked in really good order with himself this year. And I just don't think his form lines sort of reflect that. It's just happened that I've watched a lot of his races when they were happening and have been quite impressed by him. I think he was value for more than the distance he won by last time, because he got hampered at a crucial time, still got there, and I think won slightly cosily. Got Bryony Frost on. That's a really good jockey book, and she was exceptional again yesterday at Cheltenham, winning off the front. It's not a typical horse for a Scottish National. He's not unexposed. He's not progressive, but I just thought he was in really good order this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race. And then another one that's got a bit to do, but I think they've all got a bit to answer, is Gold Cup Bye for the Stuart Crawford team. It's his first start for 371 days, so that's going to be a good bit of training to get done. But Stuart Crawford is a very good trainer, perhaps more known for his raids on air than he is for running in Ireland. He beat Your Own Story last year at Ayr over 3 miles, giving that horse £19. That Lucinda Russell horse is now rated 126. I just thought this mark looked reasonable. The soft ground is no issues. I think he will appreciate the step up in trip. He doesn't do anything particularly quickly. He's very strong at the back end of his races. Looks to me to be saving a bit for himself most of the time. So yes, he's got to do it for the first time after 371 days, but he's going to get there fresh, and plenty of these aren't. So at big prices, those are my two against the field.
Yeah, Broken Halo's interesting, obviously, as you mentioned. Bryony Frost, who's been having an exceptional sort of week or so, isn't she? Zay Knight's yesterday, wasn't it? And then last week, Sam Brew. And I think that she's very good at controlling a race, as we saw at Cheltenham yesterday. But this horse, Broken Halo, just quickly, Ross, he's a held up horse. We know that Kitty's Light won this in a held up position. Do you think that this is how she'll go about sort of riding Broken Halo, or do you think she needs to sort of change tactics, because not necessarily confirmed out and out stayer, but that's the best way to ride him?
Yeah, no, he stayed the 3 mile 4 comfortably enough last time. I don't think she'll drop him out fully, because I think in a big field of 26, he seems to like passing horses. Well, if you've got 26 runners, you can sit mid division and you still got 13 or 14 that you can sort of weave in and out and pass and keep him interested. I think that's the key to him. I just would echo what you said. She was brilliant on Zay Knight. She was brilliant on Sam Brew, off the front. But she's just a very, very good horsewoman. And I think that's perhaps what this horse needs. So I just like the partnership, sort of in a race that I didn't have a strong opinion on.
Yeah, big price as Broken Halo. I think about 33 to 1, maybe even 50. So see how, if that price contracts, and a nice racing weight at 10.5, as said, Bryony Frost on board Broken Halo. Paul Nicholls looking to get his head back in front in this title race, and this race is worth 200 grand. The first prize of 112,000. So every penny counts, and we know that Paul Nicholls watches every number as they pop up. Okay, thanks, Ross. And on to Tom. In the Scottish National, we've got 26 runners here. It's a big old field. Good few horses probably sort of laid out for this. Although we know, the likes of Mr. Incredible, who unseated again in the Grand National. Bit of a feat if he's able to come back after quite a big day last week. But I think there's some horses in here that probably are fit and very fresh for this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you went to Ross first, though, I have to admit, because I am firmly in flat mode right now, so I wouldn't be able to give you this proper spiel. Of course, I've looked at this race for podcast purposes, but I won't be having a bet on any more jumps racing until Chepstow in autumn, and that includes Punchestown. Just this time of year, full flat mode for me. Both the Willie Mullins runners definitely need to be respected. They are trained by Willie Mullins after all. McDermott has jumping issues. He's only a novice. Mr. Incredible, I just don't like as a horse. I said this in the Grand National podcast. So I can't be betting either of those, especially at relatively short prices. You can make a solid case for Anglers Crag and Inishaw, both of whom have won recently. Jitmaker ran very well at Cheltenham. Beauport's proven over the trip. So, all three of those have a chance. But I just thought Mr. Van Gogh was interesting, around 16 to 1. He's a very good jumper. Prominent racers have a very good record in this event. He's going to go forward. I like Jack Tudor on staying chases as well. He makes their mind up in the saddle. Not as much as David Bass, but he's very accurate at his fences. So I'll take Mr. Van Gogh, but look, I'm not going to have a bet in the Scottish National this year.
Yeah, we're just keeping you on your toes, TC. We're not allowing you to have it all your own way yet. It's still April, and fans of this podcast are still greedily wanting their jumps racing action. But we'll be coming back, because I know there's some really good flat racing probably from your Naps and Next Best selection. And for what it's worth, my selection is Anglers Crag in here. I do think both Ross and TC, touched on Mr. Van Gogh, a horse that I think we all sort of respect. I think Sarah Brudstock's done a great job with the horse, but you can't knock what Brian Ellison's done with Anglers Crag, but more significantly Henry Brook, because this is not an easy horse. He's got a very unusual way of going. He gets his nose right down to the ground. He made a bit of a jolting error at Newcastle last time, but it was the way that he responded to the error that I just thought this horse has got the mind to be, he wants to make it difficult for his jockey, but he knows that actually he's got something left up his sleeve. So I just like the way Anglers Crag gets through his races. I think he'll be up there at the death death. And I think if he sort of probably was trained by anyone else, he wouldn't be what the price he is, 9-1. He's done nothing wrong since going to this trainer, Brian Ellison. He's still pretty well handicapped in context of this race, and I like his profile. So he's my selection for the Scottish National, which is 3:35 at Ayr on Saturday. And that, as said, we've got really good action, top class action from both flat and jumped code. So I think only fair to go over to Ross first because, Tom first, because he has been really getting his head stuck into this flat stuff now, and I think it's getting really good. We're seeing some proper classic trials this week here at Newmarket and on Saturday. Don't know what the depth that they really are, the Guineas and the two Guineas trials on Saturday at Newbury, but the racing at Newbury is definitely complemented by some seriously good handicaps as well. So I'm sure you've got something for us there, Tom.
Yeah, just before I go on to the Napa Next Best, you mentioned Newmarket this week. Watch the races back. This is my tip for the year. Watch the races back and back all of those horses that made some inroads from the back of the pack late in the day. It was very much the same last year. There was a strong tailwind at this meeting. Horses on the front end dominated. And if you followed the closers, the notable closers later in the year, they were winning big prizes at good prices. So go back and watch the results, watch the replays, look at the results, pick out a few horses that made some ground from the back and put them in your tracker, because I'm sure they'll reward you in the future. This weekend, look, the Greenham, in my opinion, is the best race, but there isn't much depth. Zoom Zoom's going to be a short price favourite in that. But I am sticking to Newbury for my two best bets. Probably my only two bets, actually, in the UK on Saturday. The Nap is going to be in the 5 o'clock. It's a handicap. There's 19 runners, so it's not exactly like a banker material Nap, but I really like this horse, and I think we're going to see drastic improvement from him on Saturday, and that's Prince Maxi in the 5 o'clock. 1 mile 2 furlongs at Newbury is what this horse needs. He's been crying out for it. He's run at Wolverhampton twice over the winter. Sharp track, both races turned into a sprint. He won the first of them, but he was against nothing. The runner-up was Paramount, who's better known as a jumper. And then last time up, he just wasn't able to go with the quick winner, who just had better acceleration. He was beaten at a short price, so many people may overlook him when it comes to this race on Saturday, but I think there was a ready-made excuse for him not to win that race. Now, they get racing very early at Newbury, long home straight. I think that's definitely going to suit this horse. And I think his opening mark of 84 is very fair. William Buick has been booked to ride. Now, when this horse was entered earlier in the week, before declaration stage, it was David Egan. They've now switched out for William Buick. I don't know where David is on Saturday. I looked at US decks. He's not riding there. He doesn't seem to have any rides in England, so I don't know whether he's banned. But William Buick is riding Prince Maxi for Ammo Racing. Had a look back at the strike rate. Buick for Ammo Racing, 5 from 15 in his career, 33%. Interesting. Prince Maxi in the 5 o'clock. And my next best is going to be in the Mile Maiden, the 350 at Newbury. And it's also called Economics. Now, this race features a bunch of lightly raced types, well-bred horses, representing leading trainers and owners. So, look, again, it's not banker material, but I really liked how he performed on debut last year. He's a son of Knight of Thunder. He ran over 7 furlongs on heavy ground, raced furthest away from the favoured standside rail at Newmarket that day. If you weren't on the standside rail or one off the standside rail, you just had no chance. So he immediately had an excuse for losing that event, yet he wasn't beaten far, and he was so strong at the end of the race. Just looks like a proper horse to me in the future. Maybe he'll need to run after the layoff. William Haggis's horses don't always fire first time up, especially 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds, but the way he performed in that race suggests to me he's well capable of going right up through the ranks, could even be a group performer in time. And the form of the race is pretty strong, actually. The runner-up, Kikuli, won earlier this week at Newmarket in emphatic fashion. The third place finisher was Balmakara, who won on seasonal reappearance at Doncaster back in March at the Lincoln meeting. And the winner was Zoom Zoom, who's favourite for the Greenham. So I think that race is pretty strong. And actually, the way it panned out, from a visual perspective, Economics actually shaped like the best horse. So if he's capable of matching the likes of Kikuli and maybe Zoom Zoom if he wins the Greenham, he should be well capable of winning a maiden around Newbury. So yeah, he's my next best in the 350.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that race. Usually kind of race that throw up some decent horses indeed. And Amphius for Harry Charlton is a brother to Sangarius and just got a lovely jump on pedigree. So interesting how they'll get on. But Economics has got a good level of form behind. So for Tom, we've got Prince Maxi in the 5 o'clock at Newbury and Economics, as said, in the 350 at Newbury. Now, Ross, are you swayed yet? Have you got a bit of flat energy bubbling up inside of you?
Well, bear with me, Jess. The nap comes in the 225 at Ayr, and it's a horse I've spoken about plenty, so apologies to anyone that's getting bored of me talking about it. It's favour and fortune for Alan King. Off a mark of 138, I spoke after the Supreme. I thought he did a lot wrong in the Supreme. He jumped very poorly, and he's not a bad jumper generally, and made up a tremendous amount of ground off the back of the field to latch on coming down the hill. And I still thought he might run a big race, but that effort ultimately told at that grade, and he was soundly beaten. But prior to that, his runner-up effort at Exeter, trying to give £10 to Fun, beaten just half a length. She's a very solid mare. Before that at Aintree, beaten about 2 3/4 lengths by Django By. He's now 146 rated. He looks a very progressive horse. Suggests to me that 138 is a nice mark for favour and fortune. It might be that he's, well, no, not might be. It will definitely be that he'll be seen to better effect on better ground, but he still might be capable of defying this mark of 138 on soft ground, given that's all he's been able to run on this winter. I mean, it must be an infuriating season to have a horse that wants good ground. I just like him. I like how he goes through races. I'm sure this mark is beyond him. He's a horse you'll hear me talk about again, because I certainly won't lose faith if he doesn't deliver here. But I just thought, against horses that are going up in the handicap, I like the novice angle, and I thought he was an interesting horse in that. And then the 240 at the Greenham is my next best. TC mentioned that Zoom is going to go off short enough here. And there's a couple of things I don't really trust in form lines, and it's Aintree form in general going forward from the Aintree Festival, and 2-year-old flat form in March, late October and November on the turf. Zoom won on heavy ground in France in a listed contest, did it very nicely, but I'm not convinced you want to go trusting that form stepping up into a race of this grade, for all that it's not a vintage Greenham maybe. I just thought against him, Ballymount Boy for Waddenham Racing, James Doyle, they'll be looking to get their partnership off to a good start. Had loads of experience last year as a 2-year-old, beaten just a length by Van Dijk in the Richmond, which is a Group 2. Van Dijk, we know, is a very, very smart colt. He upheld that form all the way through. He was then beaten in the ACOM Group 3, just a length and a half. And then he won a listed contest very comfortably on heavy ground at Doncaster in October. But he's very adaptable ground-wise. Now, the ground is soft at Newbury at the moment, but there's plenty of wind about. Could well dry out and ride a little bit quicker. I'm not sure that'll suit Zoom. I don't think it'll bother Ballymount Boy. I like the experience angle. I like James Doyle an awful lot on 3-year-olds in good contest. I think he's very composed, and I just thought he was too big against what I see as a slightly vulnerable favourite.
Yes, I don't know if it's a great Greenham in general, is it? And I think I agree with you, what you say. It's a bit like at the beginning of a season, the jump season, where you probably just need to see how horses have developed and how horses have grown from 2 to 3, whether their form will hold up. And I always think it's worthwhile having a real look at them on the TV and seeing them in context to others. And we saw that this week with JRB, that horse that just looked imposing and impressive compared to some of the others. He went and proved that on the track. But Ballymount Boy for that team, the Adrian Keatley team, has been a real flag bearer last year. So hopefully he can improve into this season. And Ballymount Boy will be Ross's next best, along with Favour and Fortune for the Alan King team in the 225 at Ayr. I'm very much like TC. I'm focused solely on the flats. I'm in Newmarket at the moment. All I've seen is 2-year-old breezers this week, and I hope to see more top quality horses at Newmarket later this afternoon. And I think there is great racing at Newmarket. I should say Newbury on Saturday. I'm going to start with an old favourite for so many. In the 130, the 1 mile 4 furlong, Dubai Duty Free Surprise Stakes was the John Porter Stakes. We got the great old boy, now 8-year-old Hamish, who you've got to give William Haggas such credit for the way that he campaigns him. He doesn't run him a huge amount. He knows his conditions. He knows what he thrives on. And that's normally this kind of trip, and it to be on the real soft side. So I wouldn't want there to be too much wind around, as Ross alluded to. Obviously, Arrest, who's in this race, might be a better caliber of horse, and he deserves to be favourite. But Hamish is gutsy, he's strong, he is tough, and he will not make any young horse, even Arrested half his age, lie down too easily. So I'm hoping that Hamish can give them something to cheer about. And he's also a horse that's just so good at this time of the year. He always comes out and seems to thrive early on in the season, and then they give him a break, and then he keeps on going only a handful of times throughout the rest of the year. So good old Hamish for my nap in the 1:30. And then the Spring Cup, which I was thinking when I was looking at this race, I thought, well, I'm sure that TC is going to give us a selection for this, but I'm slightly pleased that I'm not having to go against him or we're trying to battle it out again, because this is a big field, 21 runner at Spring Cup handicap over the mile. We've got the Lincoln form being thrown up into question again with the second place horse, but it's the third place horse, Navaggio, that I'm hopeful can run a big race and give James Horton his first winner since relocating and resetting up again. I had the privilege of interviewing him this week at his yard now here in Newmarket, and he's got a small but select team. I think this is a really good buy, and rated 96 on the flat in Ireland. Came over and was a very good third in the Lincoln, but was probably drawn on the wrong side. He'll want the ground to be again in the softer side. He's didn't move pound from his 96 rating, whereas Latam, who's ahead of him, who's gone up £3, so he's probably got a bit of a favourite at the weights with that horse. He's drawn okay far in 5, and I think that he's just a horse that could give James Horton plenty of options this spring into summertime. So around about 10-1 with Richard Kingscott on board, who returns after giving him a good run last time. He's a horse that I'm hopeful can be up there in the shake-up. So that is the Spring Cup, the 3:15 at Newbury on Saturday. So we'll probably this time next week, I'd imagine, and someone's gonna have to tell me, the feature race potentially will be a flat race. If TC or Ross gets, let's see who's winning. Let's see who has a winner this week, and then we might decide. But let's hope for what it's worth that we have a good Scottish Grand National, good tips and selections in from Newbury and anywhere else at Ayr this weekend. Don't forget, all new SBK users get £30 in free bets when you sign up and bet £10 for the first time. Make sure you head to SBK. Lots of content, as mentioned, Ross's, Miller's, Movers, TC's always got a good juicy column for us to follow, and plenty of tips as well on TC's Twitter for international raids. So make sure you follow those, and we'll see you next week.